Good evening. Welcome to the kingdom. Welcome to Bitcoin for Supper. I don't know what you would call this show. My name is Eric Dale. I'm usually the host of the Scandinavian Bitcoin podcast, Bitcoin for Breakfast, which, as the name implies, usually runs in the morning. But today we thought we might do a small evening broadcast, both so that we could tell you more about this amazing event that's coming up in Scandinavia, Northern Lightning, the biggest Bitcoin conference we've ever done. And so that we can sit down and enjoy ourselves on a Wednesday evening, meet other Bitcoiners, maybe ask some questions about the conference or anything else that you might be curious about. I am a ranting character, so I'm easy to trigger, as anyone who usually follows me knows. So feel invited to try to trigger me, and maybe this broadcast could get very interesting. But before we get that far, I have a few things to say to introduce all of this. And the first thing has to be, of course, Happy International Women's Day. It is a bit of a shame that in this conference that we're about to host right now, there is not a single female keynote speaker or workshop organizer. And that is absolutely not how I would have liked it to be. Partially, it's just economical. A lot of our industry leaders who are female live in the US. It's pretty expensive to bring them over. Partially, it's just short notice. Most men said no as well when we organized a conference with 1 week notice. But there's definitely also a lack of connection. We know a lot of other guys who do Bitcoin, and I would have liked to have more female representation. But let's see if we can do something about that for Northern Lightning 2024. Because Northern Lightning 2023 is 1 week away. Well, it's 8 days away, 8 days and 22 hours, but you know, who's counting? And I am incredibly excited. It's amazing what we've been able to pull together in, I don't know, what has been 21 days, something like that, appropriately. And in 21 days, we've put together a conference that I think is quite unique and really is one of those experiences you'll probably only have once in your Bitcoin life. And our vision for, well, I'm going to tell you more about that, but our vision for this conference is truly that you can never attend it twice. So let's see if we can live up to that promise. I'm going all in. I'll put in a lot of my own money to make this happen, hoping to recover some of it with ticket sales. But more than anything, I'm hoping to get a huge impact on Bitcoin adoption in the Nordics as this conference grows and develops and evolves over time. So, okay, talking myself away here, as I say in Norwegian all the time, but I do want to explain to you where I'm coming from, why I'm doing this. And yeah. Okay, so this is my baby. It's a week away from birth, and I hope everyone is excited as I am. I think it's going to be really, really, really special. I'm going to tell you a lot more about Northern Lightning and try to get you as excited as I am for it. But before we just jump into that, I have to do a small mandatory recommendation to all of you. And one of them is just a recommendation I really love to make, which is that we have a fantastic service in Europe, which works all over the world, which is a very simple browser extension that you install with one click, and then you fill in your Lightning address, and then guess what happens? Every time you buy food, every time you buy flights, every time you book hotels, anything online, it sends a small set of amount of that to your Lightning wallet all the time, just constantly stacking sats for you. And I've stacked hundreds and thousands of sats more or less by accident, by just activating this extension. And this money I would have spent anyways. So I feel kind of dumb for all the time I didn't have it activated. But anyway, it's called Setsback, and it's absolutely brilliant. And the link for installing it is in the description below. And I hope everyone checks it out, because it's there's absolutely no reason. There's no reason to not use Setsback. My second recommendation is a bit more exciting, because it's almost a small announcement as well as a recommendation. And maybe it's a bit contradictory to make it in a broadcast that is primarily going to be about a conference that I'm organizing and that I'm trying to make everyone here want to come to. But today we did announce, or Bitcoin Magazine and Bitcoin 23, the world's biggest Bitcoin conference in Miami, announced that I will be indeed a speaker there in May. I'm extremely excited to come to Miami and talk to the biggest Bitcoin crowd in the world. It's a privilege, and I'm extremely excited for that. They made a fantastic little video to announce me, so I think I'm going to arrogantly show that video off instead. But I hope everyone will join me in Miami in May. And again, you'll find a link that you can use to buy tickets at a slight discount in the description below, which also supports this channel, Northern Lightning, and everything that we're trying to do with Bitcoin in the Nordics. So another great opportunity to catch a lot of flies with one swap. Anyway, here's the announcement. Here's the video. I'll be a speaker at Bitcoin 2023. Today, I want to talk to you about one of the most successful examples of decentralized resistance the world has ever seen. It was a movement that was born in the wake of a disruptive communications technology that allowed information to be copied, verified, and spread at an unimaginable speed. It was an innovation that was created to overcome the corruption and the inefficiency of institutions that had outlived their usefulness. And it was an idea that survived all onslaughts. Skulle ønske ikke jeg hadde brukt denne AI-genererte bildet av meg, men det er min egen skyld. I'm going Norwegian now. I wish they hadn't used that AI-generated image of me to represent my face, because I'm obviously not nearly that good looking. But this is my own fault because I let the ego get the best of me and put that up as my profile picture in social media. So I suppose I invited it. Good evening, Fish Banana. It's good to have you here. And good evening to Gunnar and Martin and Raymond and Westervan, who also showed up. If you haven't said hi yet, I think that's a little rude. I'm spending my evening with you, and I've said hi many times by now. So, normal social conduct suggests that maybe you want to reciprocate that. That'd be super nice. Yeah. Anyways, we're back. I will be a speaker in Miami. Check out the link below, and that's about it for that. Okay, back to Northern Lightning. What the hell is Northern Lightning? It sort of fell out of the sky. Just a slight backstory here. Norway and Scandinavia, has had, like most of the world, like interest and curiosity about Bitcoin for years, but it's not been very organized. In many ways, you can understand why. Scandinavia doesn't have big drivers, big societal factors driving Bitcoin adoption, other than what's going on in the world and the interest that individuals might take intellectually or philosophically or ethically in these kind of questions. So 2 years ago, I launched a Bitcoin podcast, which I think was probably one of the first, or maybe the first Bitcoin podcast of its kind in Norway. And because it filled a vacuum, it grew pretty quickly and really became like a lightning rod, I think, for a lot of the Bitcoin enthusiasm in Norway. And that allowed us to build a community that's absolutely fantastic. It consists now of so many different people building so many different projects, from online news sites to exchanges to what I'm doing here with the conference. And it's really become sort of like a force that's self-sustaining, self-growing, and self-replicating. And to celebrate this achievement, to celebrate that we built this community, we decided to hold a Christmas party. And that Christmas party was scheduled to happen about a year ago. And then COVID, or should we say, actually, no, let's stop saying that COVID happened. Governments happened. We could have perfectly well have held that Christmas party, no problem, but governments happened. And so we had to cancel that event because we were limited to 20 participants indoors in a hall that had room for like 500. So with that highly regarded assessments from the government, we had to postpone it. It's been postponed for over a year. And finally, I said to myself, we cannot wait any longer. Even though it's a bear market, even though enthusiasm is not as high as it was when we first planned this Christmas market, it's time to imagine something bigger, something that could bring the enthusiasm back. So we started out by just planning a dinner. And that dinner snowballed into the idea that, hey, if we're anyways going to bring people together to have a dinner, we might as well get some good speakers together. And if we're anyways going to get some good speakers together, we might as well choose a concept and a venue that somehow represents or adds to what we're trying to achieve. And that means that we have to ask ourselves, what are we trying to achieve? And once we realize that what we're trying to achieve is hyperbitcoinization of the Nordics, and that these kind of parties, these kind of opportunities like these are really just like micro expressions of that desire, there is no reason to not just go all out. So welcome to Northern Lightning 2023, a conference and a rave. Now that rave thing, we're going to get back to that, but that rave thing may surprise people. But the idea is that not only will we create the biggest and highest signal conference in the Nordics with the best speakers, the best keynotes, the best workshops, we will also like to facilitate as little stage staring time as possible. You're not going to just come there and listen to another podcast that you could have heard at home. To facilitate connections, conversations, and social exchange as much as possible, to let companies and ideas be born in the fire between people and not between an audience and a presenter or an artist. The other idea is that Bitcoin needs to be practical, and it changes all the time. It moves all the time. And we need to create something real where people use Bitcoin. And we're constantly sort of like waiting for different communities to discover Bitcoin. And they will. Like, Bitcoin is the force that it is no matter what. I'm really impatient. I want things to happen faster. So I figured here's at least one community that I know are open-minded, that like to be a bit countercultural, that liked the idea. They may not have complete faith in everything that the government does, may have some questions about rules and regulations, these kind of things. It feels like fertile soil as a community for somebody that should stumble across Bitcoin if somebody just facilitates it. which is why we've organized a rave. And what an epic rave we've organized. We're going to go through the schedule later, but this is in a fjordside old ship wharf turned into a bar and club, with saunas and barbecues. I'm trying to organize fire pits and all kinds of things to make it just like the most magical evening imaginable for no coiners who will be invited there and who will want to come there, because we have hired some of Norway's best electronic artists. People who normally draw crowds of 2,000 to 5,000 people will be playing in an arena of 500. So we're expecting to fill up that with no coiners. And here's the catch. This rave, of course, accepts Bitcoin. So we will have to facilitate these people to be onboarded to Bitcoin so that they can pay for their beer. And that is just the first idea that we have for how to create a real world concept for people to be introduced to and to get to use Bitcoin, because we all know how much it helps to get to make that first transaction. Once you've made that first Bitcoin transaction, it's a whole new world. You know, it's just magical. You know immediately that this works. It's not just like an idea. So that's going to be really, really cool. And on top of that, of course, we will be adding every kind of Bitcoin ethos you can imagine. There's a question here in the chat, actually, that's quite perfect, which is what kind of merch will be possible to buy? Well, again, we just want to make it as Bitcoin as possible. So we've decided that of all the high-level merch, we will only make 21 copies of each type of merch. So there will be more than 21 items of merch, but 21 cups, 21 shirts, whatever. Now, these are beautifully designed, carefully designed, high-quality apparel. And we want to probably just sell it this first year. And then next year, if we have 2,000 people and still only 21 copies, maybe we'll do an auction. And maybe we'll give away, you know, the profit to a charity or some beneficial idea. So we want to make the merch itself into a representation and an expression of the importance of scarcity, the importance of verificability. We will number these items, of course. So this will be just another arena where we will want to try to highlight to people and everyone who's, whether you're new or old to Bitcoin, whether you're just showing up to this rave, what it's all about, and illustrate what's moving out there, what's happening. What is they say in the X-Files? The truth is out there. Yes, the truth is out there. All right, guys. Okay. So the vision here is Scandinavia has a huge community. It has a lot of advantages and disadvantages when it comes to Bitcoin. It's very safe, has a lot of trust in the government, well-functioning money, very stable. These are very good things for it in today's fiat world, but it's also a reason why it may not discover Bitcoin by itself unless somebody does something active. And so we want to build on the community that we built in Norway, expand it across the Nordics, use this conference as a way to hyper-Bitcoinize location after location through what can best be summarized as a unique and intimate. It should be unique every year. It should be intimate, small enough that you can meet everyone and talk to everyone. Experience that brings Bitcoin, actual experience of Bitcoin, to a new Nordic city every year until we've hyper-Bitcoinized and beyond, you know? And I like the idea that we should never do this in the capitals, that we should never do it in the same country twice, etc. Make it a proper communal, almost Eurovision-like experience for the Nordics. And of course, to let the countries maybe bid on hosting this, and we can have a lot of fun with this. So so that's the vision, and I think and I hope this will have a big impact on Bitcoin adoption in the Nordics if we're successful. I hope everybody wants to help me make this a reality, because it's not going to happen by itself. We're going to have to like put in the work. We're going to have to hold our enthusiasm and our focus and go through some shadow valleys in order to reach the mountaintops. But if we all pull together, I really think this is gold we have in front of us right here. Okay, just a brief recommendation in between all of this. Since you've now realized this conference and rave will be running on Bitcoin and Lightning, if you're planning to come there, or if you're just trying to save in Bitcoin like any reasonable person should be doing right now, You want to do it on relay.app. Relay app is definitely the best place to buy Bitcoin, especially if you're in Europe. I don't know if it works for the rest of the world, but definitely in Europe. You don't even need to register. You don't need to verify. You can buy up to 1,000 euros of Bitcoin every day without having to hand over a ton of documents and send it to your own wallet right away. It's non-custodial. And if you use the code ERIC, like my name, or the code Northern Lightning in one word, you will actually get 0.5% less fees every time you buy it. So that's a great way to just set up some auto stacking and have some Bitcoin ready when you arrive at Northern Lightning, so that you don't need to be onboarded there. And so that you have some Bitcoin maybe to sell peer-to-peer to people on the ground. Because I guarantee you there will be no coiners there who have absolutely no fucking idea how to set up any of these accounts. But they will understand that they can give you, 20 euros and you send them the Bitcoin right there on location, right? So I know that would mean that you would have to accept some shit coins for your Bitcoin, but it would be in the name of good, right? For the greater glory or something like that. I think it would be a worthy sacrifice. And again, I hope everybody will pull together on this. It should be a really, really fun project. It may be the biggest AFK Bitcoin onboarding event ever. And if it isn't this year, then I want to try to make it sure that it is next year, and so on. And I want to make sure each year we create a concept that is bigger than last year and that allows more people to be on board than last year. Some ideas we've had so far. By the way, you guys are not saying anything in the chat, so I'm just talking and talking. That's what I do because I'm from Bergen, where we're hosting this. That's what we are known for. But please do comment on what I am saying. Okay. Yeah. So we want to make this but make sure I just didn't miss anything, because I have a ton of different. I suppose the last thing I should answer you is like, why did we choose to host it in Bergen the first time? The smartest among you must have realized that I am from Bergen, so I love that city and I would like to see something happen there. So since it's my baby, I choose to give birth in my local hospital. I suppose is what you how you could say. But beyond that, I think it is genuinely a really good symbolic choice. Like, Bergen is the second biggest city in Norway. It represents decentralization. It represents a counterculture, a counterpoint to centralized power, obviously. And perhaps most importantly, Bergen is an old Hanseatic capital. What the hell is a Hanseatic capital, you ask? Well, the Hanseatic League was perhaps the original confederation of citadels in Europe. For several hundred years, these cities, largely autonomous, cooperated to protect their independence and their trading power in the world, much along the lines of what some Bitcoiners envisage for the future. So I think that would be a really cool thing for people to see. Obviously, that world is gone now, but the remains are still everywhere to be found. So that's going to be cool for people to see. So yeah, that's my choice of city. And the next city that hosts Northern Lightning, I would like to leave up to you. So I'm going to start nominations. And this won't be official nominations, but feel free to shout out in the chat where you would like to have Northern Lightning 2024. And if you're able to attach a concept to it, you'll get bonus points. And what do I mean by a concept? Well, for instance, some ideas that we've been suggested already, and maybe they are good enough to just win outright, but we've been suggested to do Midsummer in Sweden. We've been suggested to do a rock festival in Finland. We've been suggested to do a ski summit in Norway. Been suggested to do a beer festival in Denmark, right? So if you have an idea, shoot it out in the chat, and then soon enough you'll be hearing about it when I open nominations for this. And then of course eventually we will select some of them that you can vote on, and then we'll see you all where you want to go, basically. Okay, let's answer some questions. Got some nice small comments here. First of all, I am too, Christian. Really, really excited for this. Looking forward to saying hi to you next week. I'm glad you agree, Vestavan. Are you from Bergen as well, or is this a completely unbiased opinion? So, good question here. My ticket is called Type First. What is the equivalent after the rebranding of the ticket names? So if we open the website just so that you can see what we're talking about here. So if we go to tickets, you'll see that the tickets no longer have these complicated names that we had before. We're given the names that I think are recognizable from most other conferences. They should have been like this from the beginning, but guys, I'm doing this for the first time. I'm learning on the job, and I will make a ton of mistakes. And if you sometimes think that, oh God, this conference doesn't look as pro as some of the others I've seen, well, you're damn right. This is a group of friends getting together and making something awesome. So fuck your pros. We'll get pro next year. But this year, we're learning as we go. And so we changed the names of the passes. So which pass do you have? Well, what I can tell you is that all the full conference passes that were sold, so that includes everything that was called first, second, third, fifth, sixth, all of those tickets, those are all whale passes. So those are passes that include absolutely everything. They include, and we're going to go through what the schedule actually involves later. They include the Friday VIP dinner, the Friday VIP after party. They include a spot on the bus that takes us to and from the party. And of course, it includes the whole conference and the dinner and the rave and whatever, right? So there's nothing that you'll be missing if you have a whale pass. And everyone who bought these passes that were, well, one way to check whether you bought that pass is it cost 1,149 kroners or more. If you bought a pass that cost 1,149 kroners or more, you have a whale pass now. Okay? Now, that is only true for a little bit because we're going to be raising prices in a few days. And that's when we need you to buy your tickets right now before we raise prices. Because you see now, the whale ticket used to cost 1,699, and now it's gone up 5 times. And we will do this with all these tickets as we run out, because we don't want to stop anyone who really wants to come from coming even so. But of course, once we run out of space, we want to limit large-scale invasion of newcomers. So you probably have a whale pass unless you have a good reason to suspect otherwise. The normal passes that most people should probably be happy with is the general admissions one, which gives you the full conference, so the keynotes, the workshop. You also get access to the, we can actually go down here and see. You get access to the meetup that's happening the night before, and welcome remarks, the keynotes, the workshops, and the city walking tour, which I see is a question that's coming up here. Will there be a guided tour of Bergen? Yes, there will be. We have hired a professional city walker. Instead of going through the schedule stop by stop, maybe let's do it a bit more back and forth like this. Makes it more organic. Yes, there will be a city walk. We've hired a professional city walker who's supposedly very, very good. And he's going to take us for 2 hours with a connection. And we've asked him to focus on the Citadel connection to the Hanseatic League. And we'll be starting at a spot called the Blue Rock. And the Blue Rock is a very famous spot in Bergen itself. So if you're unfamiliar with any of that, you should check that. Do you get a wristband or card, etc.? You will definitely get a card. I don't know if the wristbands will arrive in time, but the plan is that you will get wristbands, and the wristbands will color you so that you can tell whether you're a whale or a general admissions or etc. And that's not just because we want you to feel cool. That's obviously a benefit, but it's mostly so that we know who should go on the bus, who should go on there. Sorry, guys, it's logistics. We just need to herd you like sheep. Yeah. No, it's practical. There's also there's a lunch on Saturday. Not well, lunch is a strong word. There's some bread and some fruit, and it's for the whales. So it's their diet. So we could use some color coding for that. Bergen is awesome. I agree. Gunnar, why are you not coming? I don't see any good reasons why you shouldn't drop whatever you're doing, unless it's personal death. And well, actually drop that too and come to Bergen instead. I guarantee you don't want to miss this. And as I said, like, the whole idea here is that we'll do something completely different next year. Different place, different concept, different partners, different music, whatever, right? You cannot go next year. You cannot go to Northern Lightning twice. You cannot step into the same river twice. And so you have to go every year if you want to catch Northern Lightning. And once you see, actually, I feel like I should show you that. It's pretty fucking cool. Maybe it's the best place to just show you is to give me a second here. Give me a patient little second here. Nå skjønner jeg ingenting. I'm sorry, guys. I thought I had everything under control, but I think... Oh, no, of course. I see. I see the problem here. I wanted to show you guys the logo that will be brought forwards through our merchandise, through our branding, and other places, because I think it's pretty fucking cool. I mean, maybe it's because I designed it myself. So everyone thinks that's whatever they made is really fucking cool. But why don't you guys tell me, okay? I just need to put it up in the right way here. What do you guys think of this? I think that moving these tabs is hell. All right. So now, to be clear, the logo is not this whole thumbnail. The logo is specifically this part here. That's what we are going to be putting on most of the merch. And as I said, this will be numbered editions. And of course, this logo will probably evolve and change as the years go by. But again, if you want to prove that you were there, you were there when lightning struck, you definitely need to have merchandise that has this particular brand on it, because it will never be printed again. And yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. I like it. What do you guys think? Give me some, actually, if you don't like it, you can tell me that too. I probably should change it if you don't like it. So it's good if you give me honest feedback. But I am fishing for you to feed my ego, because I want it. I like it. I like it. Whale beef at the dinner. I would have loved to. I should go through the program maybe, so that you get an idea of what you can expect, because there's going to be some pretty awesome options also for food. So let's just do that quickly. We'll start here, and I'm going to show you also the places that we're going to go to. Now, the first thing here, this is again just for the whale pass, so that's everyone who has this first, second, third, whatever. That's the steak dinner. I call it a steak dinner, but you choose your own food, and you have to pay for your own food and your own drinks at this restaurant. What you're getting here as a whale is a reservation. So there's very limited space, and that's why we're sold out of whale passes, because we can't fit more people into this dinner. We've reserved the entire place, basically. Now, this place that we're going to is called Brasilia. And I was recently in Madeira, and one thing they have there is, what's it called? Brasileiro, where they cut this meat off the stick, and they just go around, and, you know, it's delicious. I could not imagine a better place to bring Bitcoiners. It's a Brazilian barbecue, and that's where we're gonna sort of open the party exclusively for the speakers and for the whale pass holders. The artists are also invited. I think they may be joining us for both the dinners. They're definitely joining us the next day. We're going to be moving on from this Brasilia dinner, which is indeed awesome, to a meetup, which is going to happen at Rix. And Rix is Bergen's oldest nightclub, and one of the biggest. I think it may be the biggest one. And it's pretty fucking awesome, I got to say. And we made a really good deal with them. And this is actually a small announcement from me again. But Karolinski, who's the main headline artist during the rave the next day, she's a big electronic artist. She charges a fair amount to play, and she's very, very busy. But she has kindly agreed, because she likes Bitcoin, and she's going to be a part of the whole conference. So she asked if we wanted her to play for our meetup as well, just as a, to add to the flavor there. And of course, we asked Rix if it would be okay if we bring Karolinski to play in their basement that day, and got a very enthusiastic yes from that nightclub. So that means we will have Karolinski playing for us in Rix the night before as well, as a little bit of a warm up. Probably a little bit of a softer beat maybe than the next night, when we'll go a little bit harder. But that's anyways really, really cool. By the way, if you have kids, or if you're considering bringing kids, I'm bringing both of my daughters. I know there are at least 2 other Bitcoiners who are bringing their kids. So there will be a small kids group. And they can actually join us at Rix and at Brasilia until 10 o'clock. And the next day as well, we have facilitated for families and for kids. So don't think that you can't come just because you made a mistake a couple of years ago. Mistake. I am obviously joking. I'm a father and I love my kids very, very much. We go on from Riks to a secret VIP after party that we will not share any details about at all until we're going there. So you will not know where it is. You will not know when it is. You will not know who it's hosting. I will tell you that it is in a suite, a really, really nice suite. And I hope you will stick with us through the night to get the access to the very special VIP after party that will be probably around midnight or something. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when the vibe takes us there. Okay, cool. So that's the first day. That's a pretty good warm up. I think people should, at that point, start to like socialize a bit, get to know each other, feel warm. And when we wake up the next day, could have started earlier, but we decided it's probably better to let people sleep in a little bit, get a nice breakfast. We'll put out some coffee before the show starts, and then I'll hold some welcome remarks. Again, my ego popping up just to like show my face. And welcome everybody, of course, to my hometown, and maybe kick off the conference with some comments about Bitcoin in 2023. Before we finally get to the meatiest part, the most exciting part for us who cares deeply about Bitcoin, and that is, of course, the keynotes and the workshops led by people like Knut Svanholm, the author of Everything Divided by 21 Million, a great book about Bitcoin. Martin Skanke Olsen, the author of Bitcoin er harde penger, another great Bitcoin book in Norwegian. Hodlonaut, of course, a legend both in Norway and internationally for his fight against fake Otashi and CSW, and many, many more, not least, of course, Peter Todd, one of the core developers, and who will come to talk to us about full RBF on your node. So don't be afraid if you think this is not going to be technical enough for you. There will be plenty of moments of everything in between, and you should definitely get satisfaction. I'm personally most excited to listen to Christian, who is a hidden gem of the Norwegian Bitcoin community, who has himself set up something called btcpay.no, which makes it super easy for businesses to accept Bitcoin and keep track of their bills and their invoices and all this kind of stuff, right? And I don't think he has fully realized it yet. I think he's dreamed about it, but I think that there is the seed has been planted for a service that could become very, very influential in Norway in the future. And you wouldn't guess it. Which service are we using to charge for your tickets? If you choose to pay with Bitcoin, of course, we're using btcpay.no, courtesy of Christian. So I'm excited to listen to him talk more about that. Then comes this exciting city walking tour. Now, I want to go off track for a second and allow myself to tell a personal story. I used to do this way more on my channel, but after a while, you get focused on a certain character that you play on your show, and you focus on certain topics, and you forget that it's okay to talk about yourself sometimes and share. And I want to share that, and I could have shared a series of stories here, but let's start at 18, when I am broke and in Bergen, and walking through the harbor of Bergen, I overhear a tour guide. And this tour guide was so boring and so shit, and missed out on so many great stories that my grandmother had told me, that I sort of was getting a little bit annoyed listening to this fucker. And eventually I went home, printed out a piece of paper that said free guided tours, went to a print shop, asked to get it laminated, done, went down to the main square and started shouting at the top of my lungs, free walking tour, 40 minutes, free walking tour. And would you believe it? It worked like a charm. Like there would be 20, 40, 50 people showing up for every tour. I took them on a proper 2-3 hour walking tour, telling them whatever fun story my grandmother had shared with me, and all in return for nothing but tips, which might be wealthier than I had ever been at the time, just off the tips that they shared with me. I could have added that my history of touring the world didn't end there, but I think that will have to be for another time. But that means that I will accompany this professional city walker with a skeptical eye, and I don't envy the poor man they send, because I will have to put on my most generous side to not judge him. Oh, you've heard this one before, have you, Jenny? It's nice. I'm glad you're bringing your 12-year-old Christian. I think it's going to be very nice for all the kids to meet. And I need more coffee. I definitely need a top-up of coffee. All right, and then comes the highlight. Then comes the most exciting part. First, we're going to have our Northern Lightning dinner. This is what used to be called the Christmas dinner that has later been expanded onto all these other points in the agenda that we've been through. But the Christmas dinner is still really, really important for us. This is the moment where you will have the speeches and the awards and the thanks and the recognitions. And of course, we will be eating at a spectacular place called Bergen. And Bergen is truly, truly beautiful. I used to work there when I was younger. And it is a 300-400-year-old kjøttstue. And a kjøttstue is an old wooden structure that the Hanseatic Germans would build around their harbors to feed and host and heat their sailors during the harsh winter months. And it was also the main gathering hall where most political decisions or communal decisions were made. So these walls have a deep history of gatherings, of citadel governance, and of course of celebration and good food, which is what we're also there for. Now, I wanted to make this a la carte for you, but that is not that easy when we're that many people. So what we have been given as choices, and you will now be, see if I can, oh, this looks different. Where's the, I wish I had this in English, but I don't. So I'm going to try to show you the options that you will have at the dinner. And that is completely gone. That is ridiculous. Okay, I will have to send that out to you, but you will get 3 options for the dinner, and we will ask you to choose your options in advance to make it easy for us. So I hope you will respond to my emails when I send out begging emails. But you will get a choice between a fish dish, 2 different fish dishes, and a meat dish, all of which I think are the type that can be produced for 100 people. I hope the food will be really, really good. I remember especially one of these dishes is the kind of thing that I was completely addicted to when I worked there. So I'm really hoping you will like it too. Anyway, there are some surprises during this dinner that I don't want to reveal yet. So I'm going to keep my cards a little bit tight to my chest and move on from the dinner to say that when the dinner is over, and I haven't added this to the schedule, but we will be picked up outside the harbor by the local bus company in a double-decker bus that will take us to Smien. And Smien is this old ship-wharfed turned nightclub that will be the host of our rave for the evening. It is, as you can see here, the host of a very wide variety of events, from trans parties to Christmas markets. But I've seen this venue, and I think it's going to be absolutely perfect when we decorate it. We're bringing in some of the absolutely most awesome sound equipment and light equipment and stage equipment available for money in Scandinavia. And I can't wait to see how that's going to transform this venue into a Bitcoin church for the night or something like that. Yeah, that's going to be exciting. Anyway, so we're going to have great food there. Move on to the party. Now, I may have overpromised slightly. Please don't throw rocks at me. But again, I'm doing this for the first time. I promised you saunas, barbecues, and welcome drinks. And you will get all of this. But the people running the sauna claims that they are not allowed to run the sauna as long as we would like it to. We would have liked to run it all night. Now, this wouldn't have been a big problem if they were willing to keep it until 1 or 2 o'clock. But they have decided that they want to close it at 10:50. Now, as you know, the original idea for this party is to start at 10. But we changed the time to 9 for our whale pass holders. That means that if you have this dinner, you will be moving on from the dinner to the bus, which will take you there, and we will have 2 hours with the sauna at the beginning of the night. It will be nice and dark. There will be a beautiful view. It's going to be really nice. We'll have 2 hours with the sauna at the beginning of the night. General admissions for rave goers won't start until 10. So they will only have 50 minutes to compete for space or spots in the sauna. Now, to compensate for this unforeseen and unfortunate circumstance, I am redoubling my efforts to ensure that there is plentiful of free barbecue food, and I want to try and see if I can get fire pits, heating lamps. Yeah, in general, I want to make it just an awesome environment. I know not everybody are ravers, so if the indoors is going to be a bit of like a DJ club pit, maybe the outdoors needs to be a more cozy, warm, homely space. And I want to see if I can do that for you guys. Okay, at the end of this party, there will be a bus for the whales. The whales will be picked up by a bus at 2:30 in the night. You're free to go home sooner. And the good news about this place is that even though we take a bus there, which may sound like that means that it's far away, it's not. We're just taking a bus there because it's cool and convenient. Like if we were going to send everybody from the dinner to the party through the city, it would just cause chaos and people would arrive at different times or whatever. And I think it's a way better experience for everybody to get in the bus and get there together, but you'll still be 5 minutes away from your hotel by Uber. So you can leave home at any time you want, and the party will continue. We can't tell the exact time because 5 o'clock is how late we're allowed to do it, but police, neighbors may have opinions about this, and we may have to round off sooner. About 2:30 is just the time when the bus goes home. This is a private event, so we're free to drink alcohol as late as we want. Hey, I'm glad that you guys like that idea. A chill sounds awesome. A chill zone would be great. Okay, I'm glad. I'm happy about that feedback. I'm gonna put more energy into that. Because yeah, there's other things we can do, of course. You know, sofa arrangements and whatever else, and make it really cool. All right. I forgot to mention one thing, which is that there will be a small lunch for the whales in between the keynotes and the workshops. This is the bread and fruit lunch for whales on diets. I'm sorry, that's what they had to offer. It's the most expensive option they had too. So it's not like I could have organized a more generous meal there. Sorry, guys. But part of this will also be providing for the kids, because we're gonna make sure that if you bring your kids, they will not just be swarming around getting to hang with adult Bitcoiners. They will be connected with other Bitcoin kids. They will get to engage with Bitcoin topics, Bitcoin content, make them feel useful and taken seriously. And I met a lot of these kids that go to these conferences, and I gotta say, they are some very, very bright, very, very nice kids. And I think it's an underused resource to not connect them. So my daughter, Lika, my oldest, has been made project lead for developing a kids corner and a kids workshop, and she's working with a 14-year-old girl to lead that. And I think it's going to be really, really great and really, really fun for them. And it's something that they're going to be building and creating together, which I think is the most important thing. So yeah, that's going to be awesome, and I'm kind of excited to be pioneering that, because I hope to see that come to all Bitcoin conferences. That is just like a standard practice. That of course there's a kids corner and workshop. Like of course, you know, not everybody is a 20-year-old digital nomad with no attachments. Yeah, I hope that's going to set a precedence, and if nothing else, I hope it's going to make it cool this time around. Okay, guys, you'll probably be, if I did my job right, you should be pretty fucking knackered by the time this thing is over. And if I do it really well, you will go home later than you ever imagined and ask yourself the next day, how on earth did he make me do that? Now, that means that we probably shouldn't start any workshops too early the next day. And we are expecting less people to show up for this session. This will be for people who are not there to participate in any parties. There are some people who are just there for conference and don't want to go to the rave at all. And there are people who are more technically oriented, who care particularly about those topics. So we have changed the venue here from the original hotel where we're supposed to host it on the Saturday to Riks, the place where we had our meetup the first day. It's a slightly smaller, slightly more intimate venue, but I think it's going to be way more functional than being in a big conference hall. If we're only, let's say 40 people show up for this part, it will be unnecessary to have a space for 200. Now, here comes a cool question from Jon MB. Now, we will, with sauna and water, now we are going to try to take as little advantage of anyone as possible. That's why we're offering free food. That's why we're offering welcome drink, whatever, right? But we do have a lot of costs and expenses with this whole thing. So we do want to make sure that we don't unnecessarily burden ourselves. So when it comes to things like providing water and towel, we will do that. And we will do it even for free, but it will be strongly encouraged to make a voluntary donation when picking up a towel or water, especially, because that's not free. And we will also create merchandise. So there will be 21 towels that are branded for Northern Lightning that will be sold, that you can buy as a memorabilia from the sauna experience, if everything goes according to plan. I hope that sounds good. If you think that's a shitty solution or you think we should do it a different way, tell me now, because we haven't done it yet, so we can change it. But that's how we're thinking of doing it anyway. And yeah, we're making up the path a bit as we go along, but that's the best way to get somewhere, I think. At least we've got quite far already. Don't change it now. Okay, guys, so that's it. We're going to be rolling off the workshop, and Northern Lightning will be over for this time. There will be lots of tears, hugging, lifelong friendships will have been made, 3 pregnancies will have happened, and next year when we meet, we will be an enlarged Bitcoin family. That's at least the romantic take on this. When this ends, we will be able to say that we've delivered the first major Bitcoin conference in the Nordics. We've delivered the first Northern Lightning experience, Bitcoin experience, and you've all have been part of it to make it a reality and to pull it together. And through that, I think you will have created the foundation for a conference that can be much bigger, much more impactful, and planned, of course, much further in advance going forward into the future. Who knows where this tree will grow, huh? Okay. I'm glad to hear you're not too disappointed, Martin. I'm my own biggest critic, so I feel like I'm making a mess out of everything, not least the website. Like look down here, for example. I still can't figure out how to make this thing look okay. Background thing here, I didn't find the right setting or whatever. But then you look through the website, it looks like made by somebody in 3rd grade. But I assure you that the rest of what we put together is of a higher quality than the website. At least I hope so. Too early to tell. I think this has been really fun, I gotta say. Making this whole event, I've never done anything like this before. And I'm a creative person, I have a lot of fun with this kind of stuff. I know a lot of great people. And that's actually what I want to talk to you about next. Because while I have put in most of my own money and put in a lot of hours in this and see it as my baby, there is a long list of people who deserve a deep and sincere thank, and without whom it would have been unimaginable and impossible for us to be sitting here and even talking about having this conversation right now. And the first one to thank has no name. And when I started dreaming up that this could be bigger than it is, there is an anonymous benefactor that wants to remain anonymous and does not want to be known for this, but has made a generous contribution to give us a starting capital to begin to plan something of this scale. So thank you so much to that person, without whom any of the steps, like that was the beginning, that was the birthplace, that was the birth word. Second, I have to thank Christian Nistad, our own Kaffenista, who runs a coffee shop in Haugesund and runs btcpay.no for all of Norway and for Northern Lightning this time around. He is an absolute legend who has made the website, who has made the payment system, who's designing and producing the merchandise. Yes, that's right. He's made his own print shop just to produce the merchandise. That's how awesome this guy is. So incredible big thank you to Christian, who will also be bringing his coffee to be sold for, of course, Satoshis. I have to thank Ole Markus in West Booking. Ole is another Bitcoiner guy who reached out to me on Twitter when he heard that this might be going on. And he was like, we're running a bit of event kind of company. Any chance we can help you out? And we started playing ball, and he got really turned on by this idea. And we just went crazy together. And he's a really fun, creative guy and pulls his strings, and I pull my strings. And without his strings, I would have just been grasping in thin air. And thanks to him, we've been able to land some amazing venues, some amazing equipment, some incredible deals, and been able to pull together all the practical details that needs to happen in order for an event like this to happen. So thank you so much to Ole Markus and to West Booking, which I can recommend strongly if anyone wants to create a big event themselves. I also want to thank Marius in Sous Vide Record. He doesn't want to have his last name out, I think, but he has helped us organize these incredible artists, which I would never have been able to get on my own. They would never return my phone calls. And now instead, I'm chatting with them on messengers about how to put up posters for their concert. And that's all thanks to the awesome Marius, who also got us a great deal on the sound and lights that we're using. So he lifts this whole event to a level it would never have been without him. Also got to thank Karolinski, the artist, who has been very helpful with print shop work, with hanging up posters, and of course with offering to even just play for our meetup. It's really cool. I have to thank all of our speakers, and I could go through like the whole list there. You all know who these people are. You know how awesome they are. What you might not know is that in this case, most of them have come without charging a speaker fee. Some of them have come without even asking me to cover accommodation or travel, because they want to see this happen too. So not only have they made great contributions in sharing about it and talking about the event, in making a buzz about the event, of course, being great speakers and assets at the event, but they have even made financial sacrifices for the success of this event. So thank you so much to all of the brilliant speakers we have. Again, if all of them were to treat me the way you would have treated Bitcoin 2023, I think we would have had a list that's half as long and probably much lower quality than what it is currently. So thank you so much to all of the speakers. And finally, from the people to thank, and this is the biggest and most important one, that is the whole Norwegian Bitcoin community. What an amazing gang. Like, if you guys are listening to this and you're not from Norway, you got to go to discord.gg. I'm going to say this. There's no work to say verbally, actually. But you'll find a link to the Discord. Actually, I'm going to turn on the caption here. There you go. Now it says on the screen. Go to our Discord, meet the Norwegian Bitcoin community. They are awesome. If you want to make things happen, talk to them. They will help you. They will support you. They will make your idea come alive. And yeah, just endlessly grateful to have any role at all among such incredible people. So that's all the people that I really want to thank. But I also have to thank our partners. Bitcoin Magazine has helped us a lot get our article and our news out. St. Coin Telegraph, who have published our press release, and we're sending a crew in Joe Nakamoto that will cover the event. Thank you to btcpay.no for helping us get all the payments working in Bitcoin for this event. Thank you to Bitgate, which is a Norwegian service for buying Bitcoin with your cell phone. And thank you to btc.x, which it's the oldest Bitcoin exchange in the world. It's from Sweden, and they generously offered, out of the blue, to send the news about this event to their 70,000 subscribers. I think that was incredibly generous and helpful. So thank you so much to BTCX. Now, we only have one sponsor, and that sponsor is BitRefill. And BitRefill has very generously decided to actually support us slightly financially for this event too. They will be present to help us onboard people for the rave, and you will see them present in the conference and in general. So thank you so much to BitRefill for sponsoring this event, and again giving us the economic muscle to be able to imagine doing this. I'll still probably go bankrupt, but at least this way, maybe I won't go so bankrupt that they bother sending the police after me. Now, finally, I've thanked the sponsors, I've thanked the people, I've thanked the partners. Thank you. And if you want to support us more, you can, of course, buy a ticket. That's the absolute best way. Another really great way is to go to Patreon and become a member of Kongeriket. We don't really have great benefits for members of Patreon. The Patreon income is literally just my monthly income. And as you can see at the moment, I make 1,100 euros a month. I'm pretty sure that's in the lower bracket of any human being you've ever seen survive. So if you'd like to support my work and allow me to spend more time on spreading Bitcoin in Norway, putting in 9 euros, 3 cups of coffee a month is a great way to give me a leg to stand on so that I can make all these other things stand up. And finally, the QR code you see up on the left, it works. You can send Bitcoin there, and it's insanely appreciated, no matter how small or how big the amount. I know the value of a Satoshi. So do you. So if you appreciate the work that I do, don't be shy to scan that code either. All right, guys. I have only one final point to make. I am through my whole program. I think I have added, I hope, some flesh to this animal that you've been told about, some color to the image that's been painted for you. And I hope you're all now as excited as I am for Northern Lightning. It will be incredible. And I'm so excited to be starting this journey and to be part of this first year. And quite honest, honored and privileged to be able to do this shit. I mean, to be live at such a time. It's really, really cool. Anyway, I want to end this by again saying that the tickets will go up in price in 2 days. Well, no, slightly more than 1 day. 1 day and 10 hours. Tickets price will increase, and they will increase quite significantly. So if you want to grab one of these last seats, that's much appreciated anyway, but it's smarter for you if you do it before Friday. I just want to say I put the price up of Whale Pass dramatically. It is still possible to buy this if you happen to be a fairly wealthy, well-off person. And even if you don't intend to go to this event, consider whether or not buying a Whale Pass or just making the donation directly could be worth it. And if it doesn't cost you too much, it would be endlessly helpful for us, because to us, it makes a huge difference. Huge, huge difference. So with all of that said, with all of the promo done, I just have to thank you for your ears, your patience, for your attention. Thank you to everybody who bought tickets. And then I will probably at least do one more broadcast before the event. I'll probably do that in English too, because, you know, we're hoping to have a solid English audience arriving for the event. But either way, whether you catch that or not, I hope we see each other soon. I hope I see you in Bergen. That would be ideal. But yeah. Okay, I'm going to shoot a little video now. I'll show you a little video as I exit here. Traditionally, when we put on this exit video, you guys write a message saying goodbye and then what an awesome job I did. And that way I feel great and you feel like you're polite. And then I put them up on the screen as a thank you when the video plays. Deal? All right, guys. See you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and the people you love. And ciao.
For we meet in an hour of change and challenge, in a decade of hope and fear. For the eyes of the world now look into space, to the moon, and to the planets beyond. We have had our failures, but so have others, even if they do not admit them. To be sure, we are behind, and will be behind for some time. But we do not intend to stay behind, and in this decade we shall make up and move ahead. But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept. one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. The great British explorer George Mallory, who was to die on Mount Everest, was asked why did he want to climb it. He said, because it is there. Well, space is there, and we're going to climb it. And the moon and the planets are there, and new hopes for knowledge and peace are there. And therefore, as we set sail, we ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure on which man has ever embarked.